calling the Historical Commission regular monthly meeting Friday, December 9th at 10:20.
All four members are present.
All four members are present. Barry, Janet, Ellie, and June. We may have a guest, but she's not here yet. Okay. So prior minutes, we have, I sent you, Janet, a little email last night, which I don't know if you received. It was about the November 10th minutes.
Yes, and I fixed them.
Okay.
But unfortunately, I don't know what possessed me, but I put them on,
She uploaded.
I uploaded them so that they're out there wrong. But we can talk later
That's okay. We
about
can
how I
fix
can fix that.
We can fix that.
I need to swap it with these.
So,
This is the updated one that I think it dealt mostly with.
so if Ellie and Barry have read them, I've certainly read them. I just asked Janet to change a couple of things, giving the society the big credit for the yard sale and what was the other one?
The other one you said was the third paragraph back. There was an incomplete sentence, and I couldn't find it.
Oh, well, maybe what I downloaded was something that you fixed before.
Maybe.
Um,
Maybe. I hope not. I hope I gave you guys the right one, but it's possible.
Okay.
But I couldn't find anything that was.
But anyway, I think maybe it was just a remnant from some other document, because it didn't really have anything to do with, it was just a rogue thing.
Not really.
Yeah, so,
I couldn't find it even when I opened up the attachment.
yeah. Well,
So-
it's probably printed out on my copy, but
It
it's
doesn't
not, it's
matter.
not.
It was a
right.
boo-boo and it's not there now,
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
can have a motion to approve the minutes separately, or just try to go with the whole collection. It would be November 10th, and then the site visits that followed until today.
Move to approve all of them.
Second.
Okay, good.
In their current state.
In their current state, right.
And June, you seconded, is that correct? You just said second.
Ellie,
Oh, Ellie did.
Ellie did, yeah.
Sounded like June. Please don't talk like each other, it's very
Yeah.
confusing.
Okay, I'm going to insert one of our other business,
Let's vote on
oh, yes, sorry.
it. All those in favor?
Yeah, all those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimously approved, good. I did submit the budget to June because it was due at the end of November. And it's the same as last year, except that 2.5% increase. And the $15 increase over the 600 went into the supplies, not the advertisement, assuming that we get as little advertising activity as we have this year. Yeah. So we need to approve the budget. It was $100.
I move to approve
Okay.
the budget as submitted. It's $615 total.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimously approved our $615 budget. That's
Very you.
Fiscal
20,
2024.
fiscal 2024.
All right, let's get that just right. Who moves to move?
I moved it.
Barry moved to approve. Budget? What else would you like to say, anything? In that motion?
Well, it's
For,
$100 for advertising in case we have to schedule a hearing
Oh, public hearing.
for the demolition delay bylaw, and it's $515 toward our archival supplies.
very good.
And I'm sure we'll use it all, because we have a lot of them. We have a lot of supplies too, but still.
That's good.
Okay, so our budget is good. Now, there was actually, we have another invoice from Mogul. It's $585.
Yep.
And it would be good if we could move this along today because we're all here and we can all
Get it by the
sign.
end of the year, yeah.
And we can all sign if everybody's okay with it. I did get back to Denise, who is the administrative person in the office, because it showed that the previous invoice, which was a lot higher, was still outstanding. But she told me that it actually has been paid. But when they produced this document, I guess,
Yep.
it still showed as outstanding, but we don't have to
Yeah.
worry about it. It's been paid.
And so the invoice, did you want to put the amount on here?
Yep, the amount is
Fine.
$585, and that is for the month of November.
Was that his Zoom participation?
Yes, and also he did some advocating with Ross to get them to move along.
Yeah, I saw the email.
Which they haven't yet, but anyway, he's put whatever influence he has there to bear on them.
And then I saw that Tim also.
Tim talked to Dan Wolf, who's the president of Ross.
Dan, I may have misinformed him. I thought we were still looking for
Septic documents.
septic documents. And so Dan was responding to the fact, he did look, and he found one thing that was not going to be helpful. I don't remember what it was, but.
I'm pretty sure I reported this the last time
Yeah.
we met, but the 3 Linden Street septic documents are now in our Dropbox. And they are very helpful because they're right there at that end of the Bullard House. And we can look at those if you want, or just go to the Dropbox. And if for some reason you can't preview them, let me know, because I'm pretty sure the viewing is okay. Sometimes if I don't, if Marty does a JPEG and it's not converted, then it won't accept it.
Yeah.
But I think what we've determined is that there isn't anything specifically for the Bullard House.
Well, yes,
that
I mean, it's very crude. I mean,
Not really what they're looking for.
But there was more in 3 Linden Street,
Yeah.
the neighboring,
Right,
because
but
the
I'm
two were
saying that
done
there
together.
wasn't something specifically for the Bullard House.
Well, it was,
That, in
yeah.
that
It's-
level of
it's
detail
not
that we
much.
kind of
it's
need,
not a plan that the town,
would approve.
well, no, the town approved whatever is there.
Oh, yeah,
The Board of Health approved with
oh, yeah.
whatever was there in '96.
It was done something like 92 or something.
But I think the Linden Street plans predate that a little bit.
Well, it's whenever that was done.
Yeah, yeah.
The point is, when 3 Linden had to do theirs, that's when the leach field and stuff was done for the Bullard House too. And
And that
it's
was under
partially
whose
on their
Wickles?
property, on the neighbor's property.
Well, that
Those
was
were-
Faith's,
Well, that was but when the Zwickels were living there, correct?
yes.
When they owned it.
Yeah.
When they owned it. They weren't there then, but they owned it still.
So do we have what we need is the question.
I have everything that they can produce for me in the Board
Yeah.
of Health, and that's all that I know exists.
And they have to decide if it's good enough, is that the point?
Well, I'm
Yes,
sure
to
that there'll be
decide that.
more to come. I mean, I don't think they can rely on something that old.
There shouldn't have to be anything. This thing was done for the Bullard House as a residence. There is a provision that people were not allowed to have a washing machine there because it
Read
would
that.
produce too much flow. But baths and showers and a dishwasher and all of that stuff was in it, and it was considered adequate for that.
So it should be adequate for a museum where it would have much less use.
I just remember, Joni was still on the Board of Health when we bought the place. And her comment was, that's a relief, because the flow and use by the Bullitt House as a museum will be far less than it would be as a home. And, I mean, if you're open 2 hours a week, and you have people come in and work a little bit other days, you're still not gonna have the amount of toilet flushes, and you're not gonna have showers, and you're not, I mean, all the stuff that one has for their house, for residents, it's just not gonna be there.
So
So
who
the
puts
use is gonna be much lower.
Who puts the final stamp of approval on this so that we know we can move on? Or, I mean, is that the Board of Health, or who is that?
Yeah, I think that, well, there's a question, we'll check on that.
Okay, because that's what we need to do.
Dan is doing his due diligence as master planning to make sure we're covering this properly. The real question is whether the health agent and so forth have any reason to question it for the use intended. Because
And
our use is not
this
going
the
to be
time,
high.
is this the right time to start asking whoever is going
Well-
to do that? I mean, when do we start?
I'll try to catch Bill Brookins some morning
Yeah,
and
that'd
chat
be
with
good.
him about it.
And you don't have to be the one to do it if you don't want to either. I mean,
No,
you
well,
know,
it's not, it isn't that big a deal, but
I think there'll have to be some, declaration or some sort of statement that we're good to be a house museum. But I'm not sure we need to worry about that right now.
I don't think so. I mean, Dan is putting it in his pile of things to do, because that is one of the essential things you have to do in planning anything for the future.
And we also need to understand, if we're looking
That's
at
right.
changing the outside, where we need to be aware of.
Yeah. But I don't think that there's any reason for us to be worrying about that in particular. But we do need to know if there's gonna be any issue brought up at some point about it.
Yeah, and if there's going to have to be work done on it, then we want to work it into our schedule.
But the biggest concern I've got about it is the fact that we put no water through it for 2 or 3 years now. And before that, we were still using it a little bit, but since the bathroom came out, no. And so there's no water going through it, which means that it's all dried up, and who knows what you've got for troubles in your tank. Because
So-
that's not being kept with water. I mean, a septic tank is normally full of water.
Right.
And this is not gonna be after sitting there this long.
Yeah, I just had to have a drain cleared, it was at the septic, and the drain guy said, water is your best friend when you're living with a septic system.
Yeah,
He said, more is better.
more is better.
Well,
So could we say that when, that we would ask Dan would be the person who would know when we would have to intercede with this whole thing with some action that they're gonna require us to take? And Dan would be the one that would tell us when that action would be
well,
taken?
it should be on our workflow.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I mean,
I
that's,
think it's
I
on the
always want to
list.
know ahead. When would we do this? When we revise our septic system, if we in fact have to do it? And
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
do you do that after we've planned the whole yard, or? do
It's
you-
in the plan.
Yeah, it's concurrent, I
Okay.
think.
It's in the master plan.
Yeah,
It'll be in Dan's master plan. Now, if we have to take action about it, we'll deal with it when it
Okay.
comes up in the plan. But I would be awfully surprised if, other than inspecting it to make sure it's working or workable, that we'll have to do anything with
that
it.
would be nice.
Okay.
All right,
We're
I
in
think
the
I got
middle
my
of,
answer. I was looking in the meeting.
Have we unanimously approved this invoice?
No,
No.
No, we have not.
We're in the middle of that, right?
Do you know if this includes
This- This is for whatever.
the engineer?
No, it doesn't.
I don't think that's been billed. This is for Dan's time
This is senior architect.
I think this was his
$585.
Zoom participation.
in the month of November, and his Zoom.
And
yeah,
his
yeah,
letter to
yeah.
Ross.
Yeah.
FaceTime. No, okay, so
We're paying this out of
out of CPA.
litigation. What?
CPA.
Out of the CPA, okay. I move to approve the $585 bill to Margot Architects
Second,
for payment.
Okay, all those in favor?
aye.
All right,
Unanimously approved.
Janet? you
Aye.
can vote in favor.
Sorry.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Who seconded that one?
Me.
Ellie.
Sorry.
So I haven't filled in any of this, but at least I did bring the right form.
Yay! Get it out of the way, right?
Yeah.
And Barry, can you just repeat I was still thinking about the septic thing when you made that motion. Can you repeat it again for me?
He approved the
Move to
paying of the
approve.
$585 to Mokel.
Yeah. June, you're the one that's supposed to be addle-brained, not me.
Well, there's time. We
No,
haven't
okay.
finished the
We
meeting
haven't
yet.
gotten there yet, right?
It's CPA Article 22, ATM May 2, that's what I put on there for her.
Article 22 for in which meeting?
ATM,
ATM, okay.
May 2nd, 22. And I'm not sure I talked to everyone about this because I hadn't received it yet, but at our last CPA summary from June did not include one of the early invoices.
Yeah,
And so I submitted my little story about it, and Amy checked, and it had been billed, it had been paid out of our other funds. So she corrected it. She
had
said,
to change the accounting on it.
yeah. So.
Should have been paid, it's just logged to the wrong account.
Yeah, yeah. So I think I'll just check maybe next week and make sure that the $2,632.50 went to the right.
Came out of the right bucket.
Yeah, yeah. It's CPA, our CPA money, but
You don't have an extra one of these, do you?
yes, you can have it.
Yeah, that's, I think that's May, she said.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. You just have to put signatures on it
Good.
now. And it also needs the department number, which
691.
you have 6 numbers. Okay. The cemetery is 491, which I always get. Lottery, there's some 114 or something.
On pen?
Yeah, I've got one. Use yours.
Okay. The capital planning forms, I asked for time because we don't,
Yeah.
we don't have any figures. And
And where's the other copy of the bill?
Is this
It's
it?
over there, yeah.
You
June
need
will
both?
want that for her record.
Oh, she just gave it to me, but that's all right.
This is what goes to.
I'll send it.
It's, I don't need it, I just was gonna
I
use it to
thought I
write
made
down.
3, but the other one might be something.
That's fine.
else. Yeah.
It's all right.
I'm not even gonna put it in the minutes, I'll just say it was 585.
Okay,
Well, you have to put in the minutes that we voted to approve it, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
but I really don't need the details like that.
So, the next big category is the Bullard House and trying to meet our deadline at the end of the year, which is to relocate as much of the collection that sits in the Bullard House as we can.
I have good news. I've been cleaning.
I saw
Over-
furniture outdoors
Over in
yesterday.
what I now call the man cave. Honestly, it took me like 3 days to, not to clean it, but to get used to being in that building. You know, it's a garage and I'm not used to working in a garage.
Yeah.
But I would say after today, this afternoon, I'm gonna just do the shelves, clean them, I'm cleaning everything. And then it's ready for occupancy. And so we just have to not, and I mean, that's how close we are, you know, after today.
Yeah, did you say that the highway department was willing to help with moving some of the heavy stuff?
Right, after today, I've got to get back to a couple of people, and one is Fred Cummings, because he asked, you know, what our time frame was so that he can build in a day to help us.
Before
Yeah,
snow? Yeah.
Yeah, well, that, yeah, I don't know if that will happen, but.
Jim, what I was trying to figure out is the sequence of, Kristen needs a list of all of the artifacts that are gonna be in there.
Well, I don't think that the insurance company, I think we need a pretty good list for ourselves, and maybe we could give that to people who need it, but the insurance company needs an aggregate amount.
All right, so the
Wow.
insurance, and does Kristen give that to them?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And-
That's what we're doing that for her for.
Yeah,
So,
And Barry, you were going to start to put together a list of what you thought was appropriate to be stored over there?
so can you give us an idea of those, of what? Are you okay with putting our furniture there?
Most of the furniture will have to go there.
Okay, so,
Just because of the size of it?
Well, just because I don't
Where
want
else?
it not to have no heat.
okay, so.
Anything that's got a finish on it, you don't want
Yeah,
it where
don't
it's
wanna
no
freeze,
heat.
yeah.
maybe what Barry should do is give us a list of the things he doesn't want in there. I mean, only
Well,
because that would be much
I'm
quicker
gonna
for
see what
you.
we can get into Memorial Hall. I'd really like to get I'd like to get upholstered stuff into Memorial Hall if I can. I'd like to have less upholstered stuff go down there. Other than that,
The tables and, yeah,
most of the
cane
tables and
chairs
stuff,
and things
yeah,
like that,
most of that's
yeah.
all gonna go down there.
Mhm.
It's got to, I mean, it's got no other place to go.
Well,
Is there anything else besides upholstered furniture that we can think of as a group that should go to Memorial Hall, or at least temporarily, and not go into Village Power? I mean, we have,
No, no. I mean, you know, we've got we've still got boxes of collection stuff. And the real thing I wanna do is make sure we keep at least some of it uptown so that, because that's what we're working on when we're working on the curatorial building some.
yeah,
At the same time, the curatorial building is packed. I brought some stuff down from Edie's house, and I know she's got some more piled up. I don't know where to put, you know, and that's all clothing stuff that I really want to keep in curatorial if we
let's
can.
say the fabrics really should be
Yeah, yeah.
there. if
And
possible.
so, we're just completely strapped for space there. And then, but then, you know, we've still got more architectural fragments and stuff. And I don't know, we'll see. Some of that we may take over the fire station anyway, but it won't be significant. I mean, it's stuff that we've already got a lot of there.
and that's because of the surfaces are painted, or just,
Well,
Overall.
no, it's because that's where we've got that kind of stuff.
It's less fragile.
Yeah, the doors and the wainscot and stuff like that, I just think it'd be better to keep it together in the one place.
I get it.
Um,
Okay.
And I mean, I'm concerned about it because it's got paint too, but
I think it's less fragile
it's
than some of
okay.
the other
It's
stuff.
okay to go there. And I can't see Trundle to South Berlin and back if we don't need to.
What about ephemera? Will that be okay in Village Power? We have
I
a
think-
lot of that.
Yes, we do, and I want to make sure we hold enough of it to be working on at the, you know, through the winter. But at the same time, yes, that can go down there.
well, the thing about Village Power that is always surprising to me is that even though the space between where the tractors and stuff are in all the yucky part,
The garage side.
yeah, is, even though it's open to the other part, the minute you walk from that back part into the front part, you notice a whole different environment.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think it probably is a whole different environment,
No,
but
it really isn't.
but it's, it definitely is and I've been cleaning it. I mean,
It feels
I've
different,
scrubbed
yeah.
the floors,
Yeah.
and I'm scrubbing the shelves, and the only thing that's gonna be in it, as soon as Nate comes and takes a few pieces of their furniture out of there, the only thing when you walk in, it's gonna be like a gymnasium almost, but the only thing when you walk in
Yeah.
is going to be the Hearst house, roof
Yeah,
and.
The rafters.
that- Yeah, and.
Oh, that's in there now?
Yeah, Tim told them, and I think it was a very good and nice thing for him to do, that they could put it in there and work on it. I think they're done with the work on it, but you know, it's all strapped here and there to rebend some of the rafters and stuff. It's really interesting, the technology part of it.
Yeah.
And now it's just sitting in there, and I think they're finished with actually what they have to do to it, other than just let it be in there,
Until
dry, and getting into the right shape.
spring. Okay.
It's very interesting. So, but anyway, but even there, if we wanted to put some boxes of something in it, it's all, there's no roof on it, it's just the rafters, you know.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. And we do have some, a little bit of shelving that in the annex that we've had dishes on and stuff that's now been cleared off pretty much. And I think we'll take those down there and then we can stack up
Use it.
boxes of ephemera and stuff like that on those to
Well, there's all that stuff
keep
in
the
the
space,
room
make
where
the space
the,
work.
the mannequins are.
Yeah.
There's
Oh,
lots
yeah,
and
all
lots
all
of
that stuff
boxes
has to go
there.
down there, yeah.
Yeah. No, I
All the
think
stuff in
it's
that
gonna
room,
work
which
out.
includes the bedsteads and
Yeah,
that kind of.
Now, the other thing is that there are 2 of those giant wooden tables that people used to use in the old days. There are 2 of them, pretty sure it's 2, yeah, down at Village Power. So we start out with 2 great big tables, and all that does is it gives you 2 levels to work with. And so, you know, you can put chairs up on top of that, things that aren't too heavy.
yeah. And boxes underneath.
And then we have, how many tables do we have over at the Bullard House?
Oh, God.
Wow.
I mean, you know, the
little
big-
side
I don't
tables,
mean the
there's a
little ones,
gazillion
no,
of
I mean the big ones that we
yeah.
can store stuff on. You could put all your little tables on one of the big ones, and then
Yeah.
you've got a double decker. I don't think, I said to Tim, I don't know, this doesn't look like that. He said, this is more space than you realize.
Oh, yes.
You
it's a
could
lot of
store
space.
everything in
It's a
there.
lot of space,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's a
Yeah,
lot of
so
space.
I don't think that's gonna be a problem, and we have a lot of tables to use as a double decker
Well,
sort
and
of.
the thing is that it's one big square, it's not little cubby holes that you have to work around.
Right,
I mean, the architectural stuff, a lot of it's in the attic. I've got stuff up in the attic that we're gonna have to take out too,
yeah,
so.
yeah. So anyway, it would look quite different to you than it did when you came in last time.
I did see the
Yeah.
furniture out front yesterday, I thought, oh, Jen's been busy.
Those are going, those are just, they
Thank
gotta
you
go.
for doing all this drudge work.
Oh, it was all right.
I've done a lot of drudge work myself, and it's not much fun.
Well, the hard thing is.
Well, the nice thing is it's taken care of.
Yeah, it's taken care of, and it's over, it's behind me. I didn't mind doing it, and I mean, I could have called any of you and said, come and help, but I thought, that's crazy, they've got their own responsibilities, and I don't mind being over there. It took me a little while to adjust to, you know, more of the office. I'm hoping I didn't trap poor Peter who works there, or see, they don't really work there anymore, but I hope I didn't trap him away from his desk, because I just filled that space with, and those things in the office are the things that were ours, and so it's out of
Yeah.
your way, you don't have to deal with any of that stuff, you know, who's that one? But anyway, but I,
Okay.
Yeah, I'm actually more concerned about preparing to move than I am about
What? What
what,
goes?
because
Well, I have,
it's tough, and some of that stuff in the attic, I don't even know whether I'm gonna be able to get it out of there, because it came in before the storm windows got put on there, which I didn't want put
which
on,
attic
but-
are you talking about?
In the
Bullard
Bullard
House.
House.
In the Bullard House, oh, I see what you mean, in the Bullard House, yeah, yeah.
We've
Well-
got the big wide boards
Yeah.
that were wainscot and Coromets,
Yeah,
and I don't know if they're gonna go out through those silly little windows that are on there now. It was very hard getting them in. I mean, Richard and I put that stuff in there, and it was hard doing.
so the windows would, in order to actually get them out, we might have to have someone
Take
take
the
the windows
window.
off, take the storms
Well,
off.
something, I don't know. I just don't know.
Okay.
I have another question, Barry, but I don't want to interrupt if you're in the middle of something.
Yeah,
So the question is, until we get that insurance policy covering what's in Village Power, we really shouldn't move stuff in. Otherwise, we could start moving stuff in today, you know.
That's just a
But-
technicality. She'll give them she'll give them the address, which she probably
Yeah.
already has, and she'll give them a value, and that'll be,
Yeah.
and it's just a matter of the communication. It's us, really, that we need to,
we need to put a value on it.
So the question is, you know, I'm wondering, I don't know how specific we need to be, but we have to have some general idea what these things are worth. And so I didn't know whether, I have the list of everything in the house. Because you
We started, it,
yeah,
yeah.
you guys started it and I just finished it off. And so, you know, what it takes now is just putting a value to it. I think we can figure it's a good enough list for the estimate that they're looking for. There might be a couple things missing or something, but I think it's good enough. And,
well, with your
So I don't
experience with
mind
your
doing
own, with
yeah,
Bill's estate,
right.
do you think it would exceed 10 grand?
I have no idea. I'm so bad at stuff like that. But I'll tell you this.
We'll have to deal with that as we deal with the stuff, that's all.
Well, we need to
Yeah,
decide.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
why don't I do this? I'll volunteer this if you want me to do this. I will take the list of everything that's in the Bullard House, and I will match up
Some values.
values based on what, and that wasn't that long ago when we did Bill's estate. So, you know, based on that, and we'll see what it comes out to. And I'll try to do that within the next couple of days.
Okay, and then
So-
she'll have a value,
Yeah,
and then, because after today, we really need to get back to her, I can just tell her, Kristen, that she'll have a figure next week, if
yeah,
that's doable.
yes, yeah.
And then I have to, we need a date, an effective date.
For the insurance to kick in, you mean?
Forgetting
Yeah,
the, and
yeah,
forgetting
and
the
that's-
stuff moved out of the house.
Yeah, and then we can start
Yeah.
moving it.
And,
Yeah.
and for Fred to help us if we want him to.
Well, I think we definitely need help with some of those large pieces.
well, if we're not gonna pay a mover, then we'll have to have them.
Well, that's a decision we could talk about right now,
And maybe he's comfortable moving some stuff and not all the stuff.
right?
Mhm.
You know, tables are one thing, and I think those big secretaries, or whatever you want to call them,
Yeah.
with the glass fronts, those are a little bit trickier.
Mhm.
I don't want to put this off until mid-January. I'd like to.
Of course, we're trying to move on it.
December 31st.
I think, you know, the weather's been very cooperative.
One of the
So
things
far,
that
so
we need
far.
to do is deal with all the stuff that's in small boxes. And they need to be combined into a form that's more suitable for moving.
I was
And,
wondering
I mean,
about that.
small boxes into bigger boxes or something, just so that we get it into a form for moving that's not,
And you want something 3 by 3 rather than 1 by 1.
yeah.
These are things that are going to be in their boxes for quite a long time. I mean,
That's
maybe
right.
it's worth, I don't know, I don't know how much boxes cost, but is it worth it to get some sort of standard sized boxes or are we just going to kind of?
Well, we've got some stuff.
I
we
think
can
you could
get
put them in
some-
bins for now,
Yeah,
because to spend money for anything archival is kind of ridiculous when the
oh
items
no, we're not doing
themselves
that,
are dirty.
no,
Or,
we're just talking about
Yeah.
moving.
So I discourage the use of bins because I can't lift them when they're full.
Right.
Yeah,
But we could,
You could pack them up that way.
you could pack them up
Where
that
would you
way.
get these bins?
Well, you can get them
Oh,
anywhere.
you mean you buy bins?
Yeah, I mean, we have. They
Use the
just,
plastic ones with
yeah,
tops.
we have a lot at home, but they have stored, firewood and they're just dirty. And
Well, you know, I can check if you want me to write, what's it called, Right Packaging. That's where we buy all of our tomato boxes and all that kind of stuff, and I could see what they've got and let you know what some of the options are if you did want to have,
You can buy them
Boxes
anywhere,
and
but they
bags.
may have a better price
Yeah,
for
yeah.
a bigger amount.
And we can move stuff ourselves, and the stuff that's in small stuff, we can move ourselves in cars too.
Yeah,
We don't have to have all of that moved by somebody else. But we do have other substantial things to move, and we've got to deal with all that.
well, when let's see. Well, how about, today's the,
So do you want to set a day to go over there and kind of tag stuff that you think that we could move and tag stuff that we need help with? And I think then maybe we could move some of the shelving down there.
I think that makes sense, because we're taking a lot of time in a meeting doing stuff that you really need to do with the stuff in your hands doing it, you know.
Say, this we can do, and then we had, it's handy.
I'd like to identify one more category, though, that can go to Village Power, and that is things that belong to the society. For instance.
You mean the sale items and that kind of stuff?
No, there are no more sale items, they're gone.
No, I'm not talking about the yard sale, I'm talking about note cards and
Yes, those things.
cookbooks
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
And also display, mannequins are.
Oh, yeah, all the display stuff.
All that is society display stuff.
There are some items of display stuff that I might slip over to the fire station. But I'm thinking about the things that are against the wall in the east room upstairs. I might slip those over to the fire station, because but the mannequins and all that stuff, all of that other display stuff has got to go to Village Power.
Okay,
All right, VP for that one, VP.
all right,
Do
so
we-
I
do we
have
wanna write
finished,
down this stuff now so we
well,
remember
I
or
have
not?
finished furniture goes to the Village
All
Power.
right, hang on. I'm gonna write it just so we don't forget at our next meeting. All right,
So
finished.
one is finished furniture, accepting upholstered
Yep,
ephemera,
hang on a minute. And where's the ephemera going?
Village Power.
Uh,
These are just Village Power
Yeah,
designated things. And the display items, which would include mannequins. And then number 4, society, things that belong to the society, things that they have sold in the past, and I don't know what else.
And tents and.
Tents, yes,
I mean, you know, so things of that sort,
which would include the tents.
yeah.
sure.
So that's 4 categories: furniture, which is finished,
Mhm.
ephemera, mannequins and other display items, and then society-owned items, which include tents. So that, all those things can go to Village Power. We will consider the architectural pieces that are left to go to the fire station. And clothing we need to keep in curatorial as best we can. Is there more than 2 pieces of upholstered furniture? Yes, there are. There are some chairs that,
Mhm.
Yes, but we'll make judgments on that as we do it.
okay.
I mean, you know,
Some-
if it's just a chair seat, I'm not worrying about it so much.
Yeah.
So those, anything major that's upholstered, we're considering for Memorial Hall. Okay.
And one of the other things is the stuff that's in the secretary. A lot of that's, particularly the upper shelves, it's gonna have to come out and be packed in boxes.
And which secretary are you talking about?
Okay.
No, I can't see more in a minute.
Well, I'll volunteer to pack that.
Some of they'll fall out.
What is in the secretary?
Little tchotchkes.
Well, most of it's smaller stuff.
Okay.
You know, there's the porcelain dogs and a few other goodies of that sort, you
Tchotchkes.
know,
Tchotchkes.
stuff like that, but I don't want to leave it in there because it can fall out in
Yeah.
in transit
Break.
and.
Yeah.
Now, how about something like the secretary? Where does that go?
That can go to Village Power?
I think it's gonna have to go down there.
And so, you know, the drop leaf tables, the
Yeah.
millions of chairs, the
Yeah.
little tables can all,
All
okay, so
that-
the
all
wooden
that-
furniture
it's
that doesn't
furniture,
look like
yeah.
it's gonna be,
Yeah, it's furniture, and it's furniture with a finish on it,
yeah.
So that it doesn't want to be frozen.
that doesn't wanna be
No.
frozen, right.
And it's, you know, 50, I think is what they have
Yeah.
it set on, and they,
Yeah.
It's not gonna freeze.
yeah.
Okay,
So I
So
think
when-
we
when-
need to set a date.
yeah,
to
when
go-
would you like to meet, or do you want to do it as not a meeting, just have a couple people go?
Yeah, I think we'll just have work days, we'll go and work on it.
All right, so when do you want to, I volunteer to pack the secretary items,
Yeah,
Freeze.
because I have paper and things to do that, so
well, and it's good because you'll also understand,
stand what's in
you'll build
there.
your own knowledge of what's there too, which is always good.
So,
The other thing I was gonna mention, like, before I forget, is there is a hidden key that you guys will have access to. We have to keep it locked for the insurance company, that's one thing I remember you telling me.
Oh, yeah.
So the hidden key is in a semi-obvious place, but no, it's not in an obvious place, but, I'll explain to you at another time when we're not
Yeah.
on tape, where the hidden key is.
Yeah.
And what that means is that you have access to it
Yeah.
when you need to go in and out.
yeah, that's the best
Yeah.
way to deal with it,
Yeah.
I didn't know whether you wanted to have it in the store. The store isn't open all the time, but it's open most of the time.
Yes.
Especially not in the
Yeah,
winter.
yeah, yeah.
But I mean, it's not a problem to us if we have to go to the main house to,
Yes,
Get
yes,
access.
yes, and there's also one in our
that's
house, of
perfectly
course there
fine. We
is,
can
yeah,
go to the main house to get
Yeah.
access when we need to go in.
yeah, yeah.
When,
It's just nice to know that, oh, hey, I got
Oh,
an
yeah.
hour and I could go over there and sort
Yeah.
stuff or something, you know.
well, I'm going to suggest having the last week of December as a target for moving,
Yeah,
and see if that's acceptable to Fred.
between the holidays.
Um,
Of course, one of the things is, at this point in the season, everything changes if snowflakes fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Well,
weather has been very cooperative, so I think the
It's
sooner.
still green, people.
I know.
I'm still burying my roses because the ground isn't frozen.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's just astounding. I was in the cemetery briefly, and it's still green in December.
Okay,
It's
so the
still scary.
contingency week would be the following week if weather prevents us.
Oh, yeah.
Or where
Oh, yeah.
something is not,
So do you want to set up a work day this next week?
okay.
I would say so.
All right. What's good for people?
I don't think I have anything next week except for Friday, so
If this is not a posted meeting, but just a work day,
just to show up
Um,
and get, I think tagging
it could
things
be
and
done
packing
Monday
things.
if you want.
Monday?
What's the date on that?
I
The
think
12th?
Monday, I mean, Tuesday morning,
Is
I've
it the
got
12th?
the other
Today's
business
the
that we
9th.
do all the time. Of course, I can,
It's the 12th.
12.
Monday, the 12th. At what time?
Well,
10 o'clock?
10 o'clock is good, yeah,
10 a.m., okay.
all right.
So we want to
Yeah,
have
on
the
Monday.
insurance up
So
and
that's
running
for
then by the last
tagging
week, is what we're saying.
and packing.
Yes, but I think I think that can be shifted if we couldn't get in there. I think it's just a technicality to put these things in writing for the insurance company, but I will communicate with Kristen that we'll arrive at an aggregate value
Yes.
next week, by the end of next week.
Mhm.
And I'll tell Fred that our target for moving is the last week of December. And if the weather doesn't cooperate, we can go to the first week of January.
I may be tied up some of those days, that's when my family does all
Oh.
the Christmas celebration, but, you know,
it's one of those things,
Yeah.
we just do what we do.
yeah.
What are the,
If we have a work day and there's 2 or 3 people there, and if we can get somebody else to help a little, that's fine too.
I just,
And the sooner we get
I just
that.
am so tired of moving things that I'm not too
Yours
efficient.
and everybody else's, is that it?
Yeah. Um,
Well, there's been so much of it that was associated with the yard sale.
That's why I'm tired of it, yeah.
Yours and everybody else's, yeah.
So the calendar. Okay, today's the 9th, so that 16th is fine. Okay, Christmas is on a Sunday.
It is?
Yep.
Yes,
Christmas is on a Sunday.
yeah.
So so Monday's the 26th.
Which is, a lot of people probably will have off
Yep,
as a vacation.
that's right,
day.
that's right. And then New Year's Eve would be the following Saturday evening. So we could,
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
yeah,
And see, those Mondays are gonna be holidays.
yeah.
okay. So Tuesday,
26th
Wednesday,
and the
Thursday,
2nd.
and even Friday are possible. That would be the
Yeah.
27th through the
Yeah.
30th.
Yeah.
And then the following week, if we run into that, would be the 3rd through the 6th. Okay, so after Monday, we should be able to figure out some kind of amount, some total number of bins maybe, and what size. You can get them in lots of different sizes.
The only thing about, bins to me sound bigger than boxes. And we're going to be having to lift these up onto shelves and things.
Well,
That's why I don't.
You can get bins that are this
Oh,
small.
all right, so you don't mean by bins. I mean, I
No,
think it'd be
'cause
very difficult for us to handle those.
Oh, no, I don't mean the enormous things, but
Yeah.
I mean something that's got some size to
Yeah.
it, so you can, I mean, you got tomato boxes of paper and
Yeah.
ephemera stuff. And it's silly to have everybody carrying one little box at a time to move it
You
if you're gonna
stack
have
them,
something.
you take these and put them
Yeah.
into something
Yeah,
like that.
It's a
Yeah,
little more secure. I mean, you can put those things into into contractor bags too, if we run
But it
out.
would be nice to
Yeah.
have something a little bit more rigid
Yeah, and
well, yeah, because moving things that are in,
in bags.
shift around, I know,
That's
like the
tough.
like the
That's tough.
dishes. Yeah.
Well, and you want to know how tall your shelves are if you're thinking of shelving some of these things.
I actually, you know that shelf that's already, hasn't been opened yet, that's
Yeah.
in the East Room? It's in my trunk
oh,
to go to Village Power, so maybe I could transfer it to your car today.
And what's
send
in
it
it?
down there.
It's a shelf.
Oh, it's just a shelf.
It's
shelf.
we
Yeah.
met-
3 foot set of shelves,
Yeah.
but it's all knocked down in the box.
Yeah, it hasn't been opened yet. I was going to leave it the last time I was
Yeah.
working on my project, but it was too late. Remember?
Yeah.
Okay.
And when
Yeah,
you
that's
come
great.
here, China?
No, I was working on my family collections project with Tim and Janet, and it was dark and it was time to go home, so the shelf that was in my trunk stayed in my trunk and is still there, which maybe on Monday also we can break down those other shelves to be transported to. Okay, that's enough for that.
Well, you may not have to break them down. I mean, if I was gonna move stuff, they can take those as units.
Are they lashed together? They seem like they.
No, they're not hitched together at all.
Okay,
It's just 2 units.
so we don't
And
even,
the 2 units are spread out with stuff hanging across between them. So if you take the stuff off them, they're
It's
independent
just
units
there,
to move. And they're
Okay.
3 feet long, so they can move those without taking them apart.
okay. We talked a tiny bit about the workflow in terms of the technical information that we don't have. We don't have our site survey update from Ross. We don't have our engineer's recommendations, his report. We don't have any of that. So I feel like we're just kind of standing still.
I don't think standing still, but,
You know,
you
waiting.
you need to have information before you can
Yeah.
complete it, yeah.
Yeah,
It's maybe a blessing that we don't have that going at the same time we're trying to start packing everything.
Well, that's true,
and
but
those are things we're waiting for from others.
yes, that's true.
We've put them in motion, we just don't have the results yet.
Yeah,
James and Janet worked on our first blog for that is on the commission's webpage, on the town website. Has everyone had a chance to look at it?
I haven't.
Well, it's pretty.
You've seen the picture, that's all that matters, is do we look all right in our picture?
Yeah, the picture is there that Marty took that morning, and Janet wrote up a nice little summary of the skills that we have and that we expect to be successful in this project. So have a look at it, it's right on the town website.
Yeah.
I did something a little weird, maybe I mentioned this to you guys already, because I think I showed it to you so that you would know what I was saying about you. I didn't use our names when I told the skills. I said, one of our members brings thus and so, another member brings this, because I kind of wanted it to be, it doesn't matter what names it's to what, we're a team.
Yeah.
We're a team, and when you
Yeah.
put us all together,
Yeah.
this is what you get.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to make sure you all understood why I didn't. But then right after that, of course, I signed the thing in the same order that I introduced the people.
I noticed that.
But, because we're not trying to be secretive about it, and most
No.
people know us, so they know who's who. But, and then the next one, I didn't know if we wanted to try it every 2 weeks or if we want a bigger gap. I think it's been about a week or so since I put that one up. But the next one that I have written up is about the different kinds of historic house museums there are. And I just kind of mention a few specific, and then I say, and this is what we have decided we're going to be, you know, so that it kind of puts our house in the same context as,
Less a house and more a
Yes.
town history museum.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
And I probably might even use that
Yeah.
specific
yeah.
It's
point.
never gonna be a Monticello.
No, no.
No, no.
So, you know, just to put it in some kind of a context, and also to establish for anybody who thinks it's going to be something different, the opportunity to have discussion with us and to get more information about
Well, and I think that-
why we've decided to do
Yeah.
it this way.
One of the
Yeah.
questions that people sometimes ask is, well, why this house? You know, what's significant about this house? And it's like, because it's got a story to tell, really.
It does have a great story that intersects with the town's history in many different
Because
times.
it's not a very imposing house.
Oh, no. And the other reason it's this house is because it's next to the town hall and we needed the land for the
It is
town
right
hall.
there, yeah. It's right there in
I
the
mean,
center of
that's a
town.
reality thing.
Yeah,
you know.
it's not stuck there on the west end of town or something.
Exactly, and, you know, it all goes back, Louise Woodhead was, you know, talking about her house fires. My God, we've already got the bullet house, I can't deal with another one too,
Yeah, and
especially one that's
way-
far away.
That's stuck on the Boylston line.
And the
yeah.
thing about this is that this is, in the village, it's part of that, and it works with the town hall. I mean, the town hall is a significant part of the museum of the Bullet
Yes.
House, because it's the place you can hold the big meeting.
Well, sure,
Or
and
do
then
the
you've
big
got all of
exhibit.
Memorial Hall
Yeah.
with all the
Yeah.
stuff in there.
And, but it's like when we have the, you know, the clothing exhibit upstairs with the whole place set up to that. We can't do that in the Bullet House. We can't do, you know, that's part of the operation, is having the town hall as a resource right next door.
Yeah.
And the curatorial building on site, I mean, all of that together is a site that's a campus for our operation, so.
And I also like the fact that it's so close to the school. So
Oh,
that
sure.
if they
Oh, yeah.
want, if we want to start
Oh,
to
yeah.
engage some of those
Oh,
classes
yeah.
and whatever,
It's not a big,
it's not far away. Or if we want to go and do something in their classroom, it's not far away. So there's a lot of
Well, this is
reasons.
one of the things that Dan's business about the annex and making it useful.
The synergy.
I'm not sure I really want to do what he wants to do, because as much as I like that part of it, I still am really fluxed about the entrance business. And that back door is a horrible place to get to and deal with. I deal with it in the winter and it's just awful. It's always going to be awful. But the idea of making that a workspace or a space for activities, even if we come in the other door, that still is what we need to do with that. We need it, okay, we can take a bunch of kids in here and work on this and work on this, independent of the exhibits that are in the other rooms,
Yeah, it's
you
gonna
know.
be a usable room.
Yeah, an activity space and so forth, and that makes great sense, and much smarter way to use it. And if we want a back room to prepare exhibits in, we can use the room with the dormer upstairs. I mean, that's not so useful for other things.
So,
Mainly because it's not handicap accessible.
Exactly. That
Did I
that
tell-
very point, we want to de-emphasize how much we have to use upstairs, so.
Did I tell you guys that I got a letter back from Jane Nylander?
yes,
Oh,
yes.
a very nice letter from Jane Nylander
Oh, from
after I
Jane.
wrote to her.
Yeah,
And she sent me a link to her daughter's, Sarah, I remember Sarah was this big when I worked.
Yeah.
But she sent me a link to the program that Sarah is doing up in Vermont. And it's a lot of what you're talking about. So I'll forward it to you
Oh,
guys.
good.
And I'll forward her letter too. It was very nice. But she said, if I can be of assistance in any way.
where does she live now?
She's in, which town is it? It's in Massachusetts, in the eastern Mass. I'll let you know.
Okay.
I'll let you know. But it was nice to have that connection, and also just to see what other people are doing. And it's very similar to what you're talking about, restoring, fixing up the house. I'm not even sure if you know what it is? They have combined their community center and their historic, so it would be like if we were a much bigger building and we were doing
Both. Yeah.
both in the same building.
Yeah,
And so I thought, that might be interesting for you guys to see.
right.
So your question, Janet, was, when should we introduce the second blog? Is that-
Yes, we did
you
get
want-
off track, didn't we?
You want to do it like
Another
the
week or
second week?
so?
Anytime you're ready.
So, yeah, I mean, it's been ready for a while, but I'll do it, and then maybe give it another week, and then.
Okay.
I mean, the
So
trouble
the
is,
interval is.
Couple of weeks?
Is 2 weeks.
I would think over time it might
Be long.
get bigger,
Yeah,
and at certain points it
Okay.
might get smaller. But if we sort of thought of that as the average,
okay.
and then if we decide, no,
One of
that's
the
too
things
often.
is, even if you're ahead of the game right now,
Mhm.
you can fall behind really fast
Yes.
if you start putting them in too fast.
Yeah,
And then suddenly, you're gonna have a big hole.
Yeah.
And so it's better to space them out, and then we can usually maybe make it to
yeah.
get the next one in pretty good
Well,
time.
and I was gonna say maybe, can I take a minute just to have you guys brainstorm a bunch? One of the ones I was thinking that would be a nice filler, if we suddenly,
Mhm.
would be to just put a photo of an artifact
Oh,
that
sure.
you know
Oh, yeah.
something about,
Oh, yeah.
and a little thing. I mean, they
Oh,
don't
yeah, you
have
can
to
do
be
that.
big
That's
fancy
right.
things. And I think introducing people to some of the
I think
things in
maybe
the
some of those
collection.
the ice saws
Mhm.
that we were moving.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of an interesting story.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Because
the
I think
ice,
it's-
the whole ice thing is wonderful.
Yeah, and I don't know if anybody wants, if you think of something that you could just write a little piece on, please tell me. Like if you wanted, I don't know, Barry, you know a lot about the collection, if you think of something that you could just say, just write it up and we'll get it.
I can also go back to some of our old newsletters, and there may be articles in there that we could use,
Yes.
that you could just use.
Yes.
And it's something we did 5, 10, 15 years ago, but that doesn't mean
Yeah.
wouldn't be perfectly good to use now as fresh material in a different context.
And maybe we could pull something out of the collection that
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
highlights the.
Oh, yeah.
I'd be
The story.
interested in writing an article about the mostly inconsequential artifacts that we've found, but
Yeah,
the fun of them
yeah,
and what some of them could tell us.
yeah.
That you found where?
Well, I didn't find them myself, but as the work progressed that the society sponsored over, those 20 years or so, some of the work people, even Richard, in the garden area,
Oh,
saved.
yeah, of the bullet
yeah,
house you're
saved
talking about.
ceramic shards, and there's a very nice bottle, there's a kind of an eclectic bunch of things that are kind of fun to view, and I wouldn't mind writing a little article about that.
I would say, anytime you just want to break from the other ho-hum things in life, sit down and write one. I mean, write as many as you want, because like you say, they're gonna be
What kind of a
bad.
length have you got on the thing you've
Um,
written now? A
Just-
page?
Oh, yeah, just a page.
A page.
But it doesn't have, that's the nice thing about blogs, you could
No, it
do a
doesn't
couple
have to be,
pages if you
yeah.
wanted, you could do half a page.
Yeah.
You could do a picture with just a little
Oh,
blurb
yeah.
under it.
Oh, yeah, and we can
Yeah.
always do just a photo out of the collection with,
Also,
Exactly.
we need a
Blog
way
caption.
to communicate that this exists.
Yeah.
Because no one is gonna look at our webpage
Well,
unless we direct them to it.
Well, if you make it interesting.
Yeah, but we need to tell them that we've done something and to have a look. And we could, right now, well, not right now, but by the 15th or so of this month, Lori Fairbay will be able to take articles for the Powder House News.
mhm.
And that's a way to communicate with older folks who read that.
I don't think this is on the agenda, and so if it's not, let's not talk about it, because I don't want to be derailing us all the time. But we should talk about it, and that is that both Mary Reddington and James Wheeler feel that having a second website would be very beneficial to us. And it would be, I don't know, what's that, the one that Evie uses is GoDaddy. I don't know
Yeah.
what one we would use. But, they'd be linked so that, you know,
well, this is a society website.
this would be
We
a,
need to do a society website.
yeah, I don't know that this would be, I don't know what kind of website it would be, but it would probably be, yes, it would, because our commission website is the town, on the town.
Yeah,
So to
right.
kind of keep that as the
Yes.
town,
We
yeah.
All we
have
have
the
is a
society
page,
website
yeah.
through the town website.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
there are limitations on it which are impractical, such as we can't even advertise for membership.
Yeah.
So,
Did I tell you I found a link for it under forms? I found
Oh,
under the
yes,
forms
yeah,
link, they
yeah.
actually have an
that it is
ancient,
still in there someplace.
yeah, but it wasn't on where you would
Yeah, would find it.
need to find
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
So, I mean, that's one of the things we've got as a longer term issue anyway, is a website for the society. And we can hook them up with Rebecca too, who'll help, would help
And
with
look,
that
and
kind of thing.
if,
but could that also be linked to
yes.
the commission one?
Oh, sure it can.
Yeah, so that's,
Oh,
yeah.
That can have a link
yeah.
to the commission.
I like that
But the
idea.
point is, that would give us a lot more freedom of what we do without any regulation from the town.
Do you
Yeah.
have any,
And I
idea?
would concentrate program type stuff on that one.
Yeah, program type
All kinds of stuff, you know, things that, stories of things and all that
Mhm.
kind of stuff, I'd concentrate in there over time.
But they'd appear on both, so.
Well, they could appear,
yeah,
or
they
or
could.
at least you
they'd
can
be
find your
linked to
way
both.
from one to the other.
Yeah, you find your way
yeah.
from one to the
Yeah.
other, yeah.
Do you
Yeah,
know
good,
when your
good.
people are willing to start to think about this?
I would say anytime.
Anytime?
And I was waiting until after Mary got back from her little trip, and I thought she had said it was 2 weeks. It turns out it was probably just a couple of days.
Yeah, she's
So,
back,
I'll-
actually.
I would say now's a fine time.
I would suggest that that's a subject to take up with society as a separate thing, rather than in these meetings.
That's true,
Yeah.
but the board needs to meet,
Yes, the board needs to meet.
so, which would be next week.
Next Tuesday would be our normal meeting.
Let me talk to Mary. I mean, because she's the one that has the background in all this stuff, and she's on the society, so that might be. When are you meeting next?
He hasn't called it. Do you want me to send out a message so that people could meet next Tuesday evening for the society?
Just trying to think if there's anything else that's messing it up. I think we can meet next Tuesday
So, okay.
for a society board meeting, yes.
Would you be able to,
Next Tuesday?
Well, to address this concern, we would need to ask you to connect with Mary and
Yeah, I can do that.
Well, this is gonna be the 4th, 5th, 6th,
13th.
13.
That's a bad day for me, but
Yeah, okay.
that's the way it is.
What?
It's a bad day for me, but that's the way it is. It doesn't matter, doesn't matter.
A busy day, I hope you mean when you say
Yeah,
a bad day,
A bad day, a
okay.
busy day. Yeah, okay, anything else about outreach? I've mentioned the Powder House News. Which would be coming right up as far as getting something into it. And then it seems as if we're pretty much wedded to the idea of having a website for the society that could be linked to our commission webpage.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else with the social media? I can't remember now what I thought was appropriate for the Powder House News.
I don't, go on, it doesn't have to be in this meeting.
Right,
It can be taken up elsewhere. It
I just
doesn't-
don't want to introduce something that you wouldn't want.
No,
All right, well,
Powder
and,
House News isn't,
Are you saying that you're looking for an article or just a sentence somebody
Did
could
we-
put in it? I mean, I don't know what it is that,
yeah, well, we want to communicate that the commission has a webpage.
oh, okay.
We want to communicate that, but we might want to communicate something else too.
I would volunteer to talk with you about this
Okay, all
and
right.
come up with something together if you want to.
Okay.
You want to do that, June? Would that
Yeah,
be
yeah.
easier? Okay.
Yeah.
June and Janet will come up with an article.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is something that we know we need to do, but we haven't done it yet, which is for the historical collection to get those digital images with some kind of captioning onto that town webpage, that commission webpage. And we're dependent on you, Barry, for a lot of that captioning, and dependent on James to execute it for us. But it's the town, the CPA money is town money, and I want them to know that
no, of course.
that we're,
How we,
Yeah.
how we
Yes.
spent it.
that we're responsive to.
Yeah.
to
Well, that
how
was
we
the purpose for doing it in the
Yeah.
first place, was to get this stuff up. All right, I can work on some captions for things.
So burial foot.
Okay, anything with demolition delay that you know of? except
No, I
for the-
don't know of anything with demolition delay. I did look in there in the past week or so, and I didn't find anything.
There's
And,
nothing.
well, except a significant renovation addition to a house that really involved what I would call demolition. If you take a story and a half house and make it into a two-story house,
There's some
You're taking a
exterior.
lot down, yeah.
and that's a historic house, you know, that's really a bit much. And without considering it, that's a demolition issue, because you've taken the roof off and done some, you're building it all different up above. You're changing the whole architectural plan of the thing. I think that really should have a demolition review. And,
But it didn't.
but it didn't, because, I mean, part of it is they didn't, when they put in a permit, they didn't put in demolition as part of the thing. They just said, oh, we're gonna do
Renovation,
this,
yeah.
you know, and if it's a historic house, it really is, it's a partial demolition.
So how do we want to handle communicating our,
Well, I need to go sit and talk to the building inspector. And maybe the secretary in there, so that it enters their head that when somebody's doing something like that, that really is
It needs to be flagged.
a demolition, even if they didn't check demolition on the form. And that's
What's the address?
247 Highland Street. They're doing a major addition of a second floor onto an old story-and-a-half house. One that has been much modified over the years. I mean, I'm not
So it's not pristine.
feeling like it's a disaster in that
Yeah.
regard. But it set an example that I think indicates that I have to say I'm concerned about long-term, because if somebody was doing that to some other houses, it would be terrible. That one has been greatly modified 2 or 3 times over the 20th century. It's an early 19th century house, or perhaps even a little before that. But it's been greatly modified over the years already, so I'm not as upset about it as I might be otherwise, but
So you will speak to
yeah,
Richard?
I need to talk to Richard about that.
Okay, so-
We need to find a way for them to comprehend that. And secondly, they have a list, which I made years ago for Larry, of historic buildings that we would definitely be concerned about. And it's a long list. But that certainly would be part of what that bylaw exists for, you know. And maybe they can do something in their system so that it will flag those if there's a building permit for that site, for those locations. Maybe they can do something that way that would help to recall things that we need to review. We certainly don't need to review every new garage and swimming pool and all that other stuff, you know. But at the same time, we do need to review things that have to do with older structures or important ones.
Okay. Community Preservation Act Committee. I've been standing in as a non-voting member, but they would like us to have a voting member. And it's important. I mean, this is a significant source of money, and even if the commission doesn't apply for something, we review any historic preservation proposals. And, you know, there's their worthiness and
Well, it's also a position for somebody who has interest and background in town government as a whole, because open space is involved, you know, all the other subjects that are involved in housing and so forth. You need somebody who, I mean, as a voting member, you have to deal with all of those different things and trying to balance it all out. And therefore, it's, somebody needs more background than just historic to sit on that. I mean, or
Well-
rather, it would be helpful.
a willing volunteer mostly.
Yeah, yeah.
So what's involved is going to meetings
Yeah, we,
once a month, is that?
no, it's not,
Not even that much.
it's, the activity that is dense is around the time when you have to have those articles on the warrant. So it would be, I think, this coming year, it would be the beginning of February, I think, is
Yeah,
when those things have to be, you know, put together.
yeah,
So there's a lot of activity, you know, assuming that we wouldn't do this at a special town meeting as well, the activity is midwinter.
well, and it does, I mean, last year they had it in the fall. We had a fall meeting in
Yeah.
November or something, and they had stuff on that, so they were active in September, October period doing it then.
But in
that
general,
was in
the
21.
activity takes place at the meetings, not so much,
Well,
okay,
Tim,
they have to read proposals perhaps
Yeah,
ahead of time. It reminds me of the arts lottery thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was
the
the same
cultural
kind of
council.
thing where at a certain point of the year, you'd get all of these applications you'd read them through, you'd decide as a group, and then you'd,
Well, there was some other significant work of putting the actual plan together, application together. And so there's been some hard work by Tim, who's the chair, Tim Wheeler. And fortunately, Tim has Maureen,
yes.
who works in the assessor's office. She is the administrative assistant that he can draw on, who is paid to help.
To help CPA.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh.
yeah, they have an administrative
And-
assistant now.
And they
Maybe we
really,
can get one.
they really need one. I
Yeah.
mean, for
Yeah.
him
Well,
to,
yes,
for
and
him to field all
that's,
that work, whew,
that's one of the things that they can spend money for,
Yeah.
is to
yeah, they put it in their
administrate their
budget.
job.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's no more, it's probably less work than what we're doing right now because we have this huge project in front
Oh,
of us.
sure it is.
Oh,
But-
yeah.
But still, it's,
Yeah.
at certain times of the year, and that would typically be coming up, January and February. It takes more meeting time to resolve what you want to support, what the committee will recommend to the finance committee, and,
Yeah.
yeah, so if,
That committee also has basically a planning function because they have funds for these various purposes, affordable housing, open space, historic preservation, recreation, etc. And they have to be not only deciding which applications to approve now, but what kinds of things should be coming in the future. And in some cases, even encouraging applications on a subject, because something like the housing, and they might not get any applications, but yet at the same time, they have an obligation to be looking in that regard. And while they're not gonna do it themselves, they need to be encouraging projects that would use those funds, because otherwise they sit there unused. So there's a planning function involved in it that's beyond the immediate thing of what you're doing right now. And sometimes you're gonna be looking at applications and say, well, we're not gonna do that this fall, but we should consider that one for the spring.
what they remind me of each time I go to a meeting is that we don't have, as a commission, we haven't put forward a historic plan for the town, a preservation plan for the town. And I just, I told them we would get to it this year. That I actually have attended a webinar that the MHC sponsored to familiarize myself with what other towns do. And we don't have to do what everybody else does, but it helps you understand what you could include. So we need to do that. They're expecting us to do that.
All right. Bolton has done that, and they spent money doing it. They spent some significant money doing it. If we got hold of a copy of one of those from somebody else that had
Yeah.
a good one done that was considered pretty good in a similar kind of a town, we could work on it ourselves, and we also could make a proposal with CMRPC, the Central Mass Planning Commission, to use their staff to help us create one.
Also, we can have another work-off employee to help us with some
Oh, sure.
some of this. If you could find someone that was capable, I mean, or
That's right.
or interested in the nuts and bolts of writing the documents and you know. And I've been thinking about asking for another work-off employee to do this kind of, because I feel overwhelmed sometimes with what's being asked of us, you know. So I just thought I'd bring that up. I mean, it would take a special person, and I'm not sure that that's a realistic expectation, but
Yeah, I think that's but
Still.
somebody that could help with a lot of work on it
Yeah.
would be good. And the other thing, and I hadn't thought of this before, but that's an obvious thing to do, is find out whether CMRPC has done any for anybody else. Have they done preservation plan for some small town somewhere?
Yeah.
And I don't know that they have, but they do enough of that kind of stuff that it's not impossible that they have. And if they've got some experience at it, that would be even better. Or even sample of something done elsewhere.
What, is this the organization that caused you some concern for their lack of understanding of our village center?
Yeah,
It is, yeah.
Which organization is this?
CMRC.
Central
CMRPC.
Mass Planning,
Yeah,
Regional
but what did they confuse? I mean, what was,
They have done worked on a study, a plan for the center of Berlin. It was based on, the purpose of it was for business development, economic development.
oh, yeah.
And so they got a grant to do it with, I'm sure, and so on. But what they produce for a product, which is not finalized but is getting close, completely ignores historic preservation. And I think that's appalling that they've done all of that without ever consulting historic preservation in any way. In a village like, and it's really compact to the town, to the village. I mean, really, it's incredible. And some of the things they've thought up, I think, are preposterous. But I have to keep in mind that they were detailed to this as an economic development thing
Yeah.
through, I mean, the planning board's been involved with it but also the economic development committee thing too. And it really, from my point of view, is insane. The center village, number one, needs to be historic preservation, folks. And if you want to do economic development, this ain't the place for it. Because economic development is going to involve so much change, or potential change, that would not be sympathetic to the historic preservation aspect of this. You can do all kinds of economic development out on the fringe somewhere, or, in another, I mean, one of the things they've dreamed up is that they think we should have a farmer's market on the common in front of the meeting house. And to me, it's insane. If you want to have a farmer's market in Berlin, you ought to do it on South Commons. Because there's a lot of space there, and there's room for parking, and there's room to, and it's a much better place for it. And the common in the center on the congested highway at times would be a nightmare from my point of view. And just another thing that's going to make parking more difficult when there's an important event that goes on.
Was there any discussion around that, where there was any agreement on that?
Well, they've had a couple of public hearings sort of things, but most people weren't even aware of it until fairly recently. And I think that one of their bright ideas is, move the library into the town hall, because that's a lot bigger building. You could expand the library in the town hall, and then you could take the events that are in the town hall and put them in the old library. And I'm thinking, you insane people, we just spent $240,000 of state money doing handicapped access to the town hall so that we could use it as a performance venue. And there's no way you can use that other building for a performance venue in the way that the town hall is. I mean, it's just insane.
So these weren't just brainstormed things that people came up with but didn't go anywhere. These were things that they were actually going to propose?
Well, actually going to propose.
Because sometimes you go to a meeting and people are brainstorming,
Oh,
and
yeah.
the whole idea of brainstorming is bring up the craziest
Oh, yeah.
thing you want to, and then
I should show that. I got hold of a copy of the thing, and it's like, it just seems like it's completely disjointed from the thinking of the town of Berlin as a whole.
Yeah.
For a long period of time. Not to mention the fact that we've had all of these properties on the MACRIS list, and they never even consulted that stuff at the
And how did
State
people,
Historical
how did
Commission.
people on the committee respond to this? Or was, I mean, this was proposed by the other group, but how did they?
A new member of the planning board, recently appointed, brought it to the attention of some of the rest of us. Like to the First Parish Church that owns a lot of the property that this thing is involved with, and historical people like myself, they're like, what? I mean, it's like, how can they possibly have been doing this without a consideration of this stuff? It just makes no sense to me at all as a planning agency that they wouldn't automatically walk into that village and say, oh, well, we should check and see what's there for the historical commission, you know? And it's one of these things where it's been off being created by itself outside of really involving a broader community. And it's, as I say, it's another case of federal money being available and somebody finding a way to spend some of it. And it's like the thing that we had about the streets in the center of town. And it completely laid an egg as far as most of the people in the town were concerned when they tried it.
So the
One-way
Wooded
streets
Ave
and all that
going
stuff,
one way, yeah,
and bike lanes and whatever else, and it's like, huh? And when they, when it finally came out to the public to talk about it and so forth, after they'd tried it, it was like, no,
horrible.
no thank you. Gee, these signs are good and this is good, but the rest of it, forget it, we aren't interested. I mean, it's nuts.
Do you have a print copy, or is it an electronic copy that you can?
I have a hard copy. And maybe there's a place to find it as an electronic copy, I'm not sure. I should check on that.
Maybe Tim has a electronic copy.
Oh, I'm sure Tim has got it.
Maybe he could forward it to you and.
And what is this called? This is the,
CMRC,
I've got that part, but what plan is it?
CMRPC.
Is it a,
economic.
It's an
Economic
economic
development.
development plan for the center village.
okay.
But it also would involve more stuff going on that the center village, its problems with water and sewer and all those things. I mean,
I mean, that's always been the killer of developing the center, is that you don't have the utility infrastructure to support it.
yeah.
The water issues are terrible, and there's no room for a massive septic system.
I mean, one of the suggestions that's in it was something to do with, I don't know, putting some shops or stores or something in front of Michael Sawyer's thing at 11 Carter Street. And it's like, huh? First of all, that's the septic system in front there.
Hello?
And it's like, you're gonna build something there? Now, the other thing, and I should mention it because it is of concern to us in the village, is National Lumber is apparently on their way out.
Yeah, they've been sold.
I understand the building has been, the property's already been transferred to somebody else. And they're in the business of shutting down that operation, basically. And that is a big issue for us, because what happens with that property is a very great concern. It's always managed to keep a face to the street that was reasonable in terms of the village, but, and one of the suggestions, it's one of the, what I think is kind of a good suggestion that's in this plan, is to redevelop that as a series of, small businesses and stuff out in the back that could be kind of a little mini shopping center or something, kind of thing.
Do we want to take any action on this item, or are we just kind of sharing our opinions
I think we
about
need
it?
to all look at this.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Is there something we should be
We
doing
should
to make
respond.
it?
Well,
We
the
should
first thing
respond
is
as a
that
commission.
and I've been going to do that, I need to contact this person and give her what's with you, you know? You need to look at what's in the state preservation, the MACRIS listing with the State Historical Commission, which has all the buildings around the village, and June and I did
Update.
an update of the village itself as a district in several years ago, and they should look at that stuff, and it should be integrated as part of this plan.
Well-
The idea of planning anything in that village without it is nuts.
Maybe, you know, that is, what's the word? That should get us moving a little more quickly on this historic preservation plan for the town.
Yeah.
I mean, we can say that they should have come to us, but we need to be more,
Proactive.
we need to be out there more than we are.
Well, this is something that unless you were at the planning board meetings,
You
you
wouldn't,
just wouldn't know about. And they have mentioned it in an annual report a year or so ago, something about a plan for the center of town, but it's like, I mean, one of the other things is develop more affordable housing or something in that village, and I'm thinking, more housing in that village? No, I don't think so.
With the septic and water issues, no.
Yeah, it really needs to be somewhere else. I mean, maybe not too far away, but not right in the village itself, because it's too tight. The center village and Carter Village is too tight.
So
So the
I
action
feel like
is-
we need to do something, I mean, I think we've got the point, you know, when
Yeah.
we realize that this is something we should be thinking about. But is there some way we can sort of bring the conclusion to the discussion with
Yeah.
action, or do we
Well, I
just
think
want
if-
to
if-
have
the
Barry
first
talk
thing is to
to?
get copies to us, and
Yeah,
then
I
maybe
think we
we'll
need
have it
to-
on the
All right.
agenda for next meeting.
All right,
Yeah.
The other thing I think is that there's 10 acres of land that was owned by Roy Beto, who's now passed away, which is on the backside of Powder House Hill and behind all the houses in Carterville. And they've got in this thing, oh, there's an opportunity, you could build affordable housing or something up there. And I'm thinking, you gotta be kidding me, this is
Where'd you
land.
put the septic system? It's all rock.
Yeah, and this is land which should be open space to compensate for the constricture of the settlement around it, and also potentially available as a water supply location for all of these houses that, who knows what's gonna happen at some future time in terms of their ability to provide
Yeah,
water
you
supply.
can drill a well, but you can't put a septic system in that rock.
No, no. And so these are things that, and then there's 5 acres that's behind the town hall and, I mean, up on that area, behind Powder House. The town owns only a very small amount of land where the Powder House is and down below for the park. And that 5 acres is another thing that, that 15 acres is really an essential thing to the preservation of the villages, because it provides some possibility of helping them with the problems they'll have to survive there.
do we want to table this discussion
Oh, yeah.
until we've all had a chance to read
I'll put
up
it
on
on,
it?
yeah, I'll put it
Okay.
on the agenda
All right.
once.
Do you want me to make a motion that we table it?
No, you don't
until-
need to.
Okay, so we can move
just
on?
pass
If you,
on.
if you
Okay.
would just
We'll
have
move
Tim, if possible, send us an electronic copy, that would,
And the economic development plan.
yeah.
You
for the center
probably
village.
you probably can find a copy in your house that's a hard
Yeah.
copy to look
Yeah,
to read.
yeah,
Yeah.
all right,
But it'd be
And-
easier for all of us to access,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
rather than,
and the other thing is that we need to, I would suggest that if we have a special meeting between now and next month, we might put this onto that agenda. too.
oh, okay.
If we have one, we may not have one.
We might need to if we get our other information
Yeah,
in December.
I know we may have work sessions and stuff, but I mean, if
That's
we actually have
different,
a
yeah.
business session like this.
Okay, now, the next thing was our application that, the application that Lucy sent to the select board. And I told both, through Mary Arata and Lucy, I said, please come to this meeting. And I said to Lucy in her email, you know, we did have 2 resignations, which was, and the lead up to that was stressful. That's the word I used. And I said, I want you to come so that you understand how we interact and so that you're comfortable with that. But she's not here. So how do you want to deal with this? I did tell them that we would bring it up. We'd bring up her application and, for recommendation or not. So I don't know whether she forgot to come or what's
Well,
happening.
when did you talk to her last about it?
She sent me an email. I sent her a reminder at the beginning of the week,
Yeah.
and then she just yesterday, I think,
And she knew it was an in-person meeting.
yeah,
Mhm.
let's see. Yeah, I told her when, where, you know, that it was here.
Do you want to follow up on that with her? Why don't
Yeah,
you do that?
do you, let's see. Yes. Hi, June, thank you for the reminder. See you on Friday at 10, room 227, Lucy. And that was sent, I think it was sent yesterday. December 7th. No, it was sent Wednesday
Yeah.
when I was, when Marty was having his,
Of course, I forget everything at the last minute, so I can't complain.
yeah. So,
I mean, my tendency personally is to welcome this application and suggest that she's a good person to put on. She has been involved with the Historical Society for years. She's been a library trustee, so she knows what it's like to be on a town committee. It's not like that's a foreign thing to her. A lot of folks don't have that background, but she has, and so I don't think she'd be flummoxed by the open meeting law or other things like that. And she certainly has had an abiding interest in the field and the work that we do. So I tend to think that we should, you know, we should say that she's would be a good person to put on. I'm a little disappointed if she thought she was going to come and she didn't, but I know Fridays are often a day she has her sister visiting too.
yes, but Friday is our meeting day.
I know, at the
And
moment.
we need an active person. We have
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot to do, and we have 2 parts of our, you know, apparatus that aren't being served. One, the Community Preservation Committee, and also the financial end of it. That
Yeah.
takes a lot of time,
Sometimes.
sometimes, yeah.
What,
So I feel very conflicted that she's not here. Do you want me to call her? Would that be allowed?
I think maybe just contact her afterwards. I don't know that I'd call her from the meeting. What do you think? And see what was happening?
I guess, of course, let's go back to why we're meeting on Friday. And that is so that we might be able to get our select board representative occasionally
Yeah.
to be with us, and that hasn't worked out at this point. So I don't know what to say about that. We could certainly, if we have a new member, and we certainly have to consider our schedule. I mean, we're not wedded to Friday, but we picked the Friday because we thought that the select board member might more often be able to
Well,
join us.
yes.
June, why don't, I'm looking at how long we've been
Yeah.
at this.
Yeah.
Why don't I call her and just see if she forgot or what it was and
She's still
find out how she
interested.
really feels about being on it. And then if that saves you to take
Well,
care of all the home business.
It's one less thing that June would
That
have to
June
do
has to
right now. I
do.
think that's a great idea.
I'll call Lucy.
Yeah.
And also, it gives me a chance to get to know her feelings about being on here a little bit better too, so.
Yeah,
And just see
I
what-
really feel that someone should attend a meeting before they sign on.
I think so. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Because this has not always been a commission that's had smooth sailing. And
Well,
I
we
think
have a
it's,
lot of work to do.
And we have a ton of work to do. People have to.
And,
I think that you guys experienced more than Janet and me, the difficulty when the group wasn't moving in sync. So I think
Mm,
that
yeah.
that's
well,
critical
Janet
too.
was,
I was there.
poor Janet.
I
she
was there.
You there?
That was my
She
first.
Yeah,
first
she had to
Yeah.
weather
But,
that
but I
storm.
think, I think that in the end that, I just want to make a comment that's a little off topic, but in the end, I think it worked out well that, I don't think there are hard personal feelings about the fact that we had such different ideas about what we wanted to do with the place. And so I
No.
hate to leave it with, it was a horrible thing and nobody could agree. I think it was more just,
done, right?
it was something that one puts behind one and remains friends, is how I have treated that. And so, it's fine. But I do think that, I would enjoy having a chance to converse with Lucy a little bit. And it might be nice, and I really don't want you taking on extra stuff right now, June. We don't
Well,
want to lose you.
and the fact that someone else responds to her, I think, is
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And could give her the sense that she would be welcome here.
As long as she is willing to take on some work. I mean,
Yeah,
if she is,
yeah.
I think that's the important thing.
Yeah,
We really can't afford people who aren't willing to take on
They really
extra
have to
work
want to
right
be an
now.
active member and come
Yeah.
to meetings.
oh, yeah,
We don't need,
yeah.
we don't need someone who, I mean, I don't think without having a full board, full commission, we can have an associate person, can we?
I suppose we could. I
mean,
suppose we could.
You could, if that would be allowed, you could offer that as an alternative. If she's,
Let's take it a step at a time.
okay,
Let's just
Yeah.
call her and see what's up.
Yeah,
And I'll talk to her about that, and I'll
Yeah.
get back to you guys, and we may find that there's a perfectly logical reason why she isn't here.
yeah,
Who
well,
knows?
hopefully Mary, I haven't
but
been
let's
able to
not-
see her sister.
Let's not get, as Tim always tells me, you're getting ahead of yourself.
Yeah.
He has to tell me that all the
Yeah.
time.
I do
Yeah.
that too,
that's true.
Yeah.
And I do think, she could be welcomed in either position.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
In either role, and depending on her own other commitments, she could.
Yeah.
Just-
perhaps
And we
make a choice
definitely
around
need, I mean, Ella, you're in this position where you got on it and nobody said you were gonna have to do a lot of work and now we're saying everybody has to do their share. I mean, I'd love to say, Ellie, can't you be the CPA person, please? We're all so busy.
Yeah.
But, neither is that exactly
Well, I could
fair.
take it on. I don't know that, to be perfectly honest, the rest of the government function is not particularly what I'm interested in, but I'm certainly willing to do it. And it doesn't have to be
And I
forever.
don't think you
Maybe,
have to do a lot around government.
We
This guy-
rotate it and everybody takes a year or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy is the government guy.
And I'm more than
You
willing
can
to go
be
to
the
the meetings
CPA.
and listen and bring the information back to you
Yeah.
and have us kind of decide how we want to vote things.
Yeah, well, I don't think we would like to be informed, but I think you would be the vote.
I would be the vote, but I don't think that I need to be voting in a vacuum. I think that we
I
need
am
to
I
have
always-
like
input.
that. I think that's perfectly
I would
acceptable.
love to do CPA, but as moderator, I
You've
just
got a lot of
can't.
things on your.
I
your
just
plate.
don't want to have another entanglement that knocks me off the platform to be the moderator.
So
Well,
you can't
why don't
vote
we say that I will at least do it for,
a year?
A
A
year.
year?
That's
That would be
fair.
wonderful.
and we'll see how it goes.
Move to appoint Ellie Bergen as our,
Yeah.
as the historic preservation member of the
They
CPA
They
committee.
have staggered terms too, like we do. And I should know when. Elaine Wickstrom was our representative.
Yeah,
And you would be filling her vacancy, and I'm not sure when that when her term would be up, but, uh, but it would still be May, right? It would be the end of May?
I don't know.
Maybe
I
not.
don't know how that one's set up.
We'll just say a
Could be.
year. We're not gonna
Yeah.
define a year right
Yeah.
now.
Check
you need
with
to know,
Eloise.
though.
I
Do we
think,
need a second on that motion, by the
yes.
way?
I
I'll
would say
second
so,
it.
Yeah.
I beat you.
Um, I think that we, and I don't know, I think that that's an appointment and we will need to give a written statement to the town clerk that we've appointed him.
Okay,
Well, you have to, we have to tell Tim.
And I need to get sworn in again.
Yeah, do you know, did you do the ethics electronic? Because,
I didn't do the electronic. They sent me the first thing, the whole, they sent it to me in an email, the whole
Oh.
thing, to read it. But there
Oh.
wasn't anything about taking
because,
maybe they don't have to do it anymore.
no, you do,
I
because
had
they, for some reason, they won't put you on the webpage as a member because.
well, then they need to give me the link,
that
right?
link, Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe
I
we
mean,
should.
what they sent was the written thing, and said, yeah, okay.
Check with Eloise.
Yeah, you've already done that part.
Check with Eloise on it.
Yeah, check
She's,
that way.
and she gets a report of who's done it and all those kinds of things too, so.
The,
So check with Eloise, she's the one that can give you the information and make sure you got what you're supposed to have.
well, I got
And if
the
she
email
doesn't
saying,
think the
oh, you need
assistant
to
will.
read this and understand it,
Yeah.
but there wasn't anything
Probably time I
else.
did it again.
Or are you thinking of,
Well, you have to do it, you're
I know,
supposed to
I'm
do
just
it every
kidding.
3 years or something, I mean.
and you know.
Anybody that
it's-
holds any position in town government,
Yeah, and it's, you know.
conflict of
But,
interest.
but it's one of those things where if you get it wrong, you get another crank at it, and then you get another crank
Oh,
at
it's
it.
like
So
a-
eventually
Yeah.
you learn it.
You
but
have to
just
do
takes-
it until you get it right.
Yeah.
I did not get that. All
Yeah.
I
Oh, yeah.
got
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
the statement that you're supposed to read and understand.
Yeah, and when it got toward the end, it was so complicated, I didn't really understand it that well. But I did go through the whole process, and I did, you know, and if I got it wrong at first, I looked at the second one, and I mean, it's instructional on the ones that you don't know, so.
I had the
it works.
experience with doing it with Mim, who of course didn't use a computer at all.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we came in and used the town computer and went through and she did all the answers and I ran the computer.
Yeah.
Got her through it.
Well, what they're telling me is that your vote doesn't count. If you don't,
I don't do the ethics thing.
if you don't do the ethics
All
thing,
right,
so.
well, I'll get in touch
So
with
we don't
Eloise.
want that to happen.
No.
June, I want to get you back to not to Barry. We're spending way too much time together. Get you back to Marty. What else do we have on our?
We need to vote. on
Oh, we need to vote
an
on that.
appointment.
Yeah. So,
Do you want
we
to
have,
vote?
we have a motion?
Oh,
Yes, we have a motion to
And I
appoint
seconded it.
Okay.
Ellen
So-
Bergen to the
so all
CPA
those-
committee.
Yeah.
All those in favor of appointing Ellie Bergen to be our Community Preservation Act Committee
Is it
representative. I think
Aye.
aye.
Aye, we got it.
Okay, unanimously approved. Good.
Oh, you should,
Except
you
for
should, say-
Ellie.
I believe you say 3-0. Did you vote or not?
Well, do I vote on myself?
Can she vote?
Why not?
I think she could. I don't think there's
And-
really a conflict
who's
of
gonna
interest
argue
involved
with
in
it
that.
anyway?
Then I'll
So
say
it is
vote
unanimous.
to.
So
So it
you-
is unanimous.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
You know that I need to recuse myself or
Yeah.
that.
And talk to Tim, because Tim is the guru on this thing. He's chair, but he's also the guy that knows how it all's supposed to work.
No, there's no other business, right, folks?
I don't know,
I
is there
don't think
anything
so.
else?
We've covered a lot of
I've
ground.
got to put this in
Yeah.
June's
Um,
box, make a copy.
But you should send a written statement, clerk should send a written
Clerk.
statement to the town clerk
Okay,
saying that we voted to appoint Eleanor to the CPA committee.
okay.
You know, since she's already a commissioner, well, I don't know.
I'll find out.
Oh,
Don't tell
I'm
me.
just trying to remember, Elaine didn't go through all this.
All of what?
She did, I don't think she was, well, I
We
don't,
appointed her,
we appointed her, yes.
yes.
And then, but I don't recall that she had to do anything further except, but she must have had to.
I don't think so. What do you mean? What more is there anyway? I mean, the ethics thing is something you gotta do as a member of this anyway.
Right,
And the open meeting thing is something you gotta do as a member of this anyway. And you also would need to go to the town clerk and sign the book as the CPA member too. But that's,
okay, that's,
there's nothing
that's
more
it.
than that,
I
no,
was just-
I don't think so.
okay,
And I don't think we have to refer it to somebody else to act on it, I think we can just appoint and that's that.
yeah. And I can let Tim know that we've voted.
Well, Janet's gonna, well,
Yeah,
Will you let Tim know?
Oh,
Yeah,
oh.
yeah,
yeah,
okay.
And when Eloise, right?
yeah,
I can forward documents that have been forwarded to me so that you have them electronically.
Yes.
And I don't think they meet until January,
Which is only next month.
which is coming up, yeah. Okay.
that's the frustrating part, isn't it?
All right, I guess
we're doing all right here, guys.
okay, if I get any information from Ross Associates or from Tom Lamb or from Dan, I'll just forward
Yeah.
it to you.
Well, let us know about
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
fine.
so we'll do some work on Monday. So a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
All right.